social media program because I am Miss Blossom. If you're interested to be here, I just want you to also remember that we are streaming live on most of our live platforms at social media pages, Galaxy TV and Galaxy TV News or Galaxy TV Entertainment. But most importantly, I want you to know that we have Galaxy Television app on Google Play Store, and after this, now have the YouTube channels which you can like, subscribe, and share. You're welcome to the show. I have my co-host with me, and she's sitting smiley. Good afternoon, Dominic.
Good afternoon, Miss Blossom. Like she said, you are welcome to the buzz, and we're going to be having beautiful and an informative conversation. We also have a guest in the studio today, and I would really love to, have conversations with him. So yes,
yes, you're all welcome. Okay, we have in the studio Chris. Assuming his art is an author, a speaker, a political analyst in the studio. Good morning. Good afternoon, actually. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good having me. And then let me start by saying that I am highly blessed in between, baby. And then it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. And then secondly, I'm also excited. Today, after 28 years of state refineries not working, the Port Harcourt refinery eventually came on board. Yeah. So for that, I'm happy for my nation. I'm happy for Nigerians. At least a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
All right, a spark of hope.
That's beautiful. It's one of the topics we're supposed to take, but obviously we can't take it today because we already have something to talk today. But obviously we'll have the guests tomorrow to talk about that. And it's good you actually brought that up because that's a very news for Nigerians. And hopefully price of things will start crashing gradually. Hallelujah. Okay, so let's start with the first.
All right. So this says Obasa declares intention for gubernatorial election 2027. The race of the 2027 governorship race seems to have started earlier than expected in the center of excellence, Lagos State. Albeit on a very dramatic note, the presentation of Lagos State's 5 budget proposal on 21st November was expected to be a milestone event. But the session at the House of Assembly became a noteworthy spectacle of discord and political theatrics. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the state's chief executive, arrived at the legislative chamber with the intention of unveiling the budget, setting a course for the state's future. However, the atmosphere was far from welcoming. Led by Speaker Obasa, the Assembly's conduct bewildered guests and others, with many deeming it a disgrace to the integrity of the legislative session. The proceedings kicked off late, well past 1 p.m., showing seemingly tribal discussions that strayed far from the day's agenda. When Governor Sanwo-Olu finally entered the chamber, the response from Speaker Obasa left the audience in shock. Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Obasa, has declared that he possesses the state qualification to contest for the governor of the state. Obasa, however, declared he has no considered contesting governor of Lagos State. The speaker clarified that his primary goal was to help advance all pro-Congress APC through the mandate group, adding that his ambition to become governor was secondary. He spoke after Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State presented his 3 trillion budget proposal for the 2025 fiscal year.
Okay, amazing one. Okay, before we start talking and deliberating and analyzing this topic, we have a Zoom guest that has joined us. His name is Prince Chilaka. He's a social worker and also a social commentator. Good afternoon, Prince. Good afternoon, Prince.
Good afternoon, Mr. Prince.
Good afternoon, Blossom. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Okay, all right. So before we actually react to this particular one, there is a short video during that meeting where we had someone do and of course Obasa making a statement. So let's quickly check the video and we'll come back and start with Chris. Actually, let's start with Chris to react to that. But first, let's watch the video and we'll go right back to the studio. So with that. All right, welcome back. We couldn't get the video, but that was presidential speech in Brazil. But we have to come into that one because that's the next topic. First, let's talk about the declaring his intention for the gubernatorial.
It's amazing that the heat started in-house, okay, with the APC. Well, for a start, Obasa is qualified and he has every right to want to declare intention to be governor of Lagos State. He's been in the House of Rep, repeatedly, and then he's been the speaker. I think this will be his second or third term of being the speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly. So he has every right to declare for the seat of the governor of Lagos State. However, his introduction to it should have been more of a consultative approach, but I think it came up confrontational. Comparing with past governors and all of that. And I think by doing that, he probably shot himself in the leg because putting himself side by side with a person like Fashola, for example, it's just ABC to know that Fashola is far ahead of him. So he did himself this service going that lane, but it was confrontational. And for me, I do not think it will go far with what he's doing. And then, but then I also think that Obasa jumped up into the fry, threw his heart in the ring, trying to counter the rumor of Sheyi Tinubu coming on board. Well, for me, like Obasa, Sheyi Tinubu also has a right to want to vie for the seat of the governor. But you see, beyond some of this structure, there is what you call morality and then other angles to it. For in America, that's the king of democracy in the world. America had a Bush senior that was president. They had the son, Bush, that was president. So between the two of them, they had 3 terms as president, father and son. And while the son is president, I think they also had, or maybe an administration after, they had another Bush that was a governor. You understand? Even in America, we had Clinton that was president, and we had the Clinton wife that vied to be president. Even won the popular vote in America. So what I'm trying to say is because Sheyi's father is Bola Ahmed Tinubu does not disqualify him to want to run for government. But however, on the ground of morality, I do not think it will fly. And then more so, there's no experience on his side to want to vie for that office of Lagos State, not just any other state. Lagos State is bigger than most countries in Africa. Do you understand? He hasn't got the office, he hasn't got the prerequisite what it takes to govern that space. I would have loved to see him being a commissioner or maybe just pick up from there and all of that. Let's size him up in public office. But going straight for the presidency, for the governorship, I think that's a bit too. But it might just be some kind of pranks, political pranks. I do not think that mistake will be made of Sheyi Tinubu coming on board to run for governor of Lagos State.
All right.
It's just a stunt, political stunt.
Possibly a political stunt. I think you have a comment for Prince, right?
Yes. So, Mr. Prince, I would like to ask, knowing that, Obasa came out and then he said what he said, he announced what he announced, and then confrontationally, I would like to ask, what if he even wins this governorship election in 2027? Do you think he's going to do better than the rest governors or than the past governors that we've had before?
Yes, completely. Prince, that question is for you, Prince.
Nigeria has not come of age where we say people are leaders because they deserve to be leaders. We have had leaders or people foisted on the people as leaders. And like Most Reverend Kuka said, we've always had emergency leaders in this country. So I will not be shocked. But we need to look at his antecedents and also look at the environment. We know that Lagos has not gotten off the grip of Mr. President. And we also know that whether we want to agree or not, Bola Ahmed Tinubu plays an important role in who becomes the governor of Lagos State. So we are already battling with Emiloko spirit, which is the father. Now we're going to start battling with Omomiloko. But then, this whole thing about, Sheyi Tinubu coming out or showing interest or people bringing him up, for me, it is nothing but greed, selfishness, and, it's not necessary. And when people make reference to America an American president, I laugh because we are always fond of making reference to America when things, when we want to sell a narrative. But when it comes to real leadership, exemplary leadership, we still don't make reference to America. So for me, whether we like it or not, Abasa, nobody can say whether he'll be a good governor or not. But at the odds against him, looks like the group that determines who becomes the governor of Lagos State, they have not spoken. They always have an anointed candidate. And the anointed candidate always wins. We saw it play out between Showolu and Ambode when Ambode was stopped. So there's a lot going to happen between now and 2027. It's too early to say who would win, who would not win, who will make a good governor, who will not make a good governor. But all I would say is that let a Lagosian be the governor of Lagos State.
Okay, great, thank you. Chris, so I would like to ask, based on what Chris said, he said that it could be a political stunt, and some other persons, online, we have Twitters, we have Instagram bloggers. Some persons believe that it's probably the start of war in their political party. Because if Obasa is coming out and, on the ground, a lot of people are feeling shade Tinubus wants to also come out. Who knows who's going to probably come out and also declare interest from the APC? Do you think it's something like a political stunt, or it's maybe a looming war about to start when it comes to Lagos governorship in APC?
I totally disagree with everybody calling it a political stunt. Obasa Mudashiru is a well-known politician, is grounded, is a grassroots person. So for somebody like that to come out and declare his interest in the governorship of Lagos State, you can't take him for granted. So let us not look at it as a political stunt, but I just believe that he has come out because a lot of people are saying we want a Lagosian to be a governor. But then, like I keep asking, it's too early. Let me just put it this way. It's too early because a lot of other people are going to show up very soon. A lot of other Lagosians are going to show up. And then the question of whether he is a Lagosian or not is the come up. So it's too early to begin to call it a political stunt, but I just know that, Abasa is serious about it and is determined to go all the way.
Okay, thank you very much. It's like you have something to say.
Yeah, let me just speak for where he stopped. And he said something about being too early to pick who will be the governor, whatever. I also think it's a bit too early to throw the president under the bus over the rumor of Sheyi Tinubus coming forward to the governor of Lagos State.
So
because
there could be a possibility.
well, the thing is, he was calling, tagging that grid and all of that. What I'm saying is, it's a bit too early because it might not just be in the agenda of Mr. President. It might just be some boys around Sheyi throwing up stuff like that. The father might not endorse it at the end of the day, so there's no point dragging the president into this. It's a bit too early for that. But I also think that the people looking at the political calculation around who could be the next governor of Lagos State from the APC, we are actually looking at Musiliu and then the current chief of staff of the president, Femi Gbajamiamila. We're actually looking at it to be either of the two that will be it. And then I think the seats for now, looking at it from our own political prince of Lagos structure, it's far from Sheyi, and it's of course far from Obasa, with due respect. It's far from the both of them. But I don't think it will trickle down to Femi Gbajamiamila. Note today's program. It's going to be a fight between Femi Gbajamiamila and Musiliu. Those are really the two.
Because you said it will probably not be in part of the president's agenda. How about if it was part of the presidential agenda?
Because I think I'm trying not to use a very strong
word,
adjective, but for me, it would be a kind of an elementary politics, because the father will be fighting for his life to want to win second time in office, and then you don't want to carry the burden of getting your son along. I mean, you'll be carrying too many baggages, and you'll be getting the public to talk and all of that. So the Tinubus that I know is politically smart, and he will not expose himself that much to public ridicule and public criticism and all of that. So I don't see the president in it. I actually don't think she will be too strong on that because his father will caution him. We've seen a situation whereby the father walked him out of a fake meeting, you know. So the father should be able to get hold of him. I do not really think it's a strong thing. It's just some boys, you know, flying kites. Like flying kite, you know, where they like kite. Going around, that's what it is. It's not more than that.
So let's go to the next topic. This one is the president's Tinubus speech. We're supposed to have triggered this yesterday, but I triggered it today because of time. The president's Tinubus speech in Brazil, well, of course, it was admitting to the hardship we have in the country and the economic hardship we're also facing in the country. Actually seeking that we need help, and of course, we still get better in time. But, you know, instead of me reading up, let's quickly hear from the president himself when he had this speech in Brazil. I will go back to the studio to discuss and, of course, analyze. We'll be right back. Okay, all right, welcome back. Yeah, still watching the buzz. Of course, we just analyze President Tinubus speech. You know, I'm just going to actually skip that. I wanted to say something, but in reaction to, you know, behind the scene, behind the camera, while the video was playing. But of course, it's what people are feeling the heat, the pain right now in Nigeria is growing very high. So you don't expect any form of compliment, but more of the nagging, basically. So please, what's your take on the speech? Him actually dictating and stating this for a fact doesn't change anything, basically, for Nigeria. That's what they say. And they're like, okay, if this is the problem, why announce it and instead of fixing it? But what's your take?
Okay, fine. Mr. President acknowledged the hardship in the country, and he has always done that. Now, I think where the problem started is this. No, let me go back a bit. Sincerely, the first one we need to ask ourselves is there a need for a reform? Because we've been merry-go-rounding for over 60 years as a nation. We've not been able to hit our potential and stabilize at that point. Now we've been merry-go-rounding, so there is obviously something is wrong. So there's a need to sit down and then rework the entire process. So the reform is an imperative. Okay. But I think where the problem started is this. The president, the presidency did not see it fit to prepare the minds of Nigerians of what reform is.
Yes.
Because for most people, reform is immediate results.
Yeah.
Change things and results must start coming up. And that's a misinformation. There is nowhere in the world that reform has worked in that dimension. It is not possible for reform to work that way. So the expectation of many is that, okay, you've come with reform, it's an agenda, it's a policy, we want to start seeing the impact immediately. It doesn't work that way. So I think the presidency failed to inform Nigerians, to prepare the minds of Nigerians of what reform is. That's where communication is key. Now, if they are taking time in terms of probably orientation and stuff like that to prepare the mind of Nigerians to say, look, this is a period we have to reset. Because that's what reform is. Yeah. Reform is resetting, retooling. You understand? So it means that, look, things are going to nosedive at the immediate. Then it starts building up. And when it's building up, that means things will now start fitting in, and then we have proper growth and all of that. Because the nation, before now, or rather, the nation, the way it was, is like a monster, not in that ugly word, but you know, when something is disjointed, disgruntled, and so you cannot expect proper growth in that structure when things are not in place. You can't expect growth. Things are not in order. So, but then for things to grow as it ought to, you need to rework the structure. So the structure that Nigeria has been built on cannot be progressive. Yeah, okay. Can never be progressive. Bring the best president in the world to govern Nigeria in its state, in its shambles structure. It will not work. So there's imperative need to reform the nation, to reset the nation, to retool the nation. But while you do that, a lot of things will slow down. It will look messy at first. It will look ugly at first. But they fail to communicate that to Nigerians so that they can have an idea of what reform is. Then you cannot demand of Nigerians to be sacrificial. Of course, yes, you do it by example. Then there's an understanding. Then the nation will begin to grow in that realm. But they didn't do that. Most Nigerians expected immediate result, and then what they are seeing is hunger. What they are seeing is loss of job. What they are seeing is hardship. What is the high prices, high cost of living? So they are like, what is this? You know, it's like a big hit. It wasn't what they expected and all of that. And there's this reaction. But I must say that the reaction to the reform is misinformed. Because if we have a proper understanding of what reform is, then we better understand, better apply, be more patient to see how the reform is working. Because, for example, now, what we're seeing now is, take for example with the dollars.
Yes.
Many people think that the dollar being high now, dollar is about 1,007 now, 1,700 plus now. For many people, 8 out of 10 Nigerians, they will say it's as a result of bad governance. But that's not true. Because over the years, dollars have been pegged, naira has been pegged. So what that means is, if dollar originally should exchange for 1,000, government will say, okay, Nigeria can access for 400. They peg it.
Okay.
So the naira has never exchanged for its real value over the years. It has been subsidized by CBN. So because government always peg it. So at the end of the day, you find out that trillions of naira that will have gone into infrastructure development and social welfare are used to defend the naira. So most Nigerians get to buy dollar cheap, thinking that is the actual worth of naira. But that's not the actual worth of naira, because it's been subsidized. So what the government now did is say, look, you see, we can no longer defend the naira that way. So let's float the naira, let naira find its value. All right. So they stop subsidizing naira, and the value of naira we see today is about 1,007. So it's not bad governance that brought it there. It as a result of the stop in defending naira, in subsidizing dollar for naira. So what they now say that, look, let naira exchange for its true value. So what we cannot do as citizens is to patronize local products. You know, when we export more than we import, naira will begin to grow value again. You understand? But people don't understand this dynamics.
Okay, Chris, I actually understand what you're saying, but I feel like sometimes, there's a process of jumping the broom. You have to do it. It's a process. You have to
Yeah.
If you jump the first step, the second step, and you go to the third, nobody really understands why you're even at the third, even if you have a result. And people are seeing it or not really seeing it, they will not want to understand because it hurts other persons and there's supposed to be a process. Like you said, it could have been more of a communication thing.
Yeah.
They should have communicated. But I feel it is beyond communication. You said now, floating naira. We are not producing anything aside from oil right now. That is where major of our resources, major of our money is coming from. So I feel like if they have to float the naira, couldn't you have just fixed some things a little bit so that when floating the naira, there's still a little bit of balance. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it's not just about communication. Even if you wanted to remove all subsidies on all things, but if some things were rightly placed, I think it will not be this bad. And the value of our naira will not even be this high.
Well, to be frank, I quite agree with you. Because I've also questioned the sharp implementation of the reform. And that is because, first and foremost, Nigerians, we are immediate people. We are immediate people. We want result right now. We want stuff going on right now. If we don't get the result right now, it's not working.
Yeah.
Because we think in the immediate. You understand? And it is very bad. Because over the years, federal government has pampered us as a people because they pay subsidy for so many things. For example, a lot of Nigerians see President Goodluck Jonathan as next to God in governance. But not necessarily true. But what Jonathan did is this. Jonathan paid subsidy for almost everything. In fact, he almost paid for the air we breathe. You understand? So he pampered us. So the money we made in his, under his presidency went into subsidy for this and that. You know, even up to rice and all of that. So Nigeria got things for cheap. So we thought that's good governance. But no. But what happened is because we are so used to the media buying things for cheap. So, but you see, it hurt the growth of the nation. So if the presidency has come up to communicate to Nigerians to make them understand what this reform is all about, will have helped. But like you also suggested, it should have been in steps because you must know your people. You can't change your people overnight.
Yes.
It has to be gradual. Nigerians we are locked in this immediate syndrome thing. And then no nation developed that way anyway. No nation developed that way. Because if we're going to develop, we must have our eyes on the long-term goal. But to an average Nigerian, nothing like long-term goal. Talk to you about long-term goal, who I might die before then. That's how Nigerians talk.
Yeah.
But you see, no nation can rise to its full potential without sticking to having discipline towards a long-term goal. Of course, you should have the immediate goal so that we keep body and flesh together. But you see, the ultimate thing is always the long-term goal. But long-term thing has never worked with Nigeria because we're immediate people.
Okay, so how you spoke about resetting.
Okay, I think you should direct that question because we have Prince. Direct your question.
Okay. So, Mr. Prince again. So, Mr. Chris spoke about resetting, right? He said that, in your words, you said that for Nigerian to, progress, they have to, we have to, look into the structure. We have to, let go of some things that we're used to and all of that. How long do you think resetting can happen in Nigeria? Let's say we want a good, governance. We need a good, we just need good governance. How do you think this resetting, or how long do you think this resetting should last for before Nigerian gets better?
Let's start by saying Mr. President gave a very wonderful speech in Brazil.
Yeah.
But beyond that, talk is cheap. Yes, talk is cheap. And I'm shocked that your guest in the studio is defending what should not be defended at all. Now, nobody in Nigeria has benefited from Nigeria other than the political class. If he has benefited from Nigeria, if he has been pampered by Nigerian successive government, I have not been pampered. Nigeria is a country where you run your generator, you drill your borehole, you buy your medical kits. So what is it that the government has given to the people that somebody will sit back and tell me Nigerians are pampered? A country that is blessed with oil, a country that has 100 and something different minerals. We must be able to speak truth to power. The problem of Nigeria is not the Nigerian people. It is the leadership in Nigeria. The leadership has no focus and they have lost it. It's as simple as ABC. So when we talk about development, everybody wants to develop. Every country wants to develop. But bring it back home. Even to this present government, you're asking people to make sacrifices. You're telling people that you want to rejig the system. Yes, as a president, you're buying a new jet, presidential jet. You bought a new Escalade. You bought cars for your National Assembly members and Federal House members. You refurbished the house of the Vice President with 21 billion. So, at what point have the ordinary Nigerians benefited from the government? The ordinary Nigerians are the ones who have been making all the sacrifices. The ordinary Nigerians are the ones who have been paying all the taxes. So tell me, what kind of reform does Mr. President have that he did not think out of the box when on the 29th of May 2023 he said subsidy is gone? He did not realize that the life of ordinary Nigerians depend on fuel, depend on that subsidy. You did not have your economic team in place and you're removing subsidy. While Nigerians were grappling with the subsidy, you created band A, band B, bandwagon of electricity. That is not how people develop. That is not how nations develop. So those who are working for Mr. President, those who are advising Mr. President, they need to go back to the drawing board. And until our leaders begin to make sacrifices, nothing will work in this country. So it's not just to ask the ordinary Nigerians to make sacrifices. It's not to tell me that Nigerians have been pampered. When you have a senator having 5 policemen with fleet of cars, today fuel at 1,000 plus, and somebody is telling me that Nigerians are over pampered. Please, let us stop all these things we say. The truth of the matter is that this government is not prepared from the one. This government does not understand what the ordinary Nigerians are going through. So sometimes before we begin to talk to the public, we must feel the impulse of the public. We must realize how many lives have been affected, how many people have lost their lives, how many people have lost their jobs, how many organizations have closed down because of the bad policies of this administration. So it is not about long-term or short-term. The thing is that this government came unprepared, period.
Okay.
So sorry. I want to quickly address one or two things you said, because sometimes you see we have this entitlement mentality, even as a people. Now, Prince said that nobody has benefited from Nigeria, but that's a fat lie. I'm sorry to say, no disrespect meant, because even till now, electricity is being subsidized. The cost of electricity. We're not paying the real cost of electricity. If you have the opportunity to have traveled abroad, you know how they relate with electricity. As in, you dare not put on your TV while you are not in the room because of the cost. You dare not leave your bulb on while you are not in the room because of the cost. It's high. The cost of electricity is high all over the world. All right. So Nigerians are not even till today are not paying the real value of the cost of electricity. Why? Because government is subsidizing it, and we're actually suffering from that too. Because real investors will not come into play where government is subsidizing. Because investors will bring in their billions of dollars to invest in a system that the market price determines the price, not when government determines the price. So we are suffering because it's electricity being subsidized. So real investors are not coming in. So what we're going to today is subsidy in electricity. Over the years, PMS has been, when we were buying PMS for 140 naira, it was highly subsidized. So we were enjoying it as citizens, highly subsidized. So that was not the reflection of the cost, market cost. It was, we were buying at subsidized cost. Diesel, the same thing. John, I think it was about Yar'Adua government that diesel came was deregulated. Now PMS has been deregulated now. So we've been subsidized, dollars have been subsidized for over 30-40 years. We've been enjoying dollars at subsidized cost.
But now, are these things still subsidized?
No.
Because now they are still very expensive.
You mean dollar or fuel?
Everything, fuel has been subsidized. I heard. I mean the hike of price, things in the market, everything is still very expensive.
That's what we're saying. See, I understand what he said about high cost of living now, because Nigeria is a petroleum economy.
Yes.
Let's not lie about that. Now, when we pull out subsidy from the cost of petrol, every other thing will react to it, which Nigerians are not prepared for. Do you understand? That's a bash, I understand. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm just trying to address what they disagree with.
Okay.
Nigerians have been enjoying subsidized cost of most of these things. So that's the way of government. It could be government policy, but of course, we benefited from that. So saying that Nigeria not benefited from the nation is not true. It's not true. Yes, I agree completely that the nation has not been fair in terms of resources, our resources to the people. I agree that leadership has been horrible actually in this nation. But then we still need to admit the fact that we've enjoyed some percentage of goodwill from government from the perspective of subsidy. Because okay, let's even look at agriculture. Do you know what government has invested in agriculture from the time of Obasanjo in 1996? You know what government has put into agriculture? Sometimes they give subsidy for flour. They even give out flour, grains free, and all of that. Do you know how much? I mean, what government has invested in agriculture in Nigeria?
Okay, now speaking about agriculture, speaking about farming, I saw two training videos where a man actually cried out as herdsmen, their cow actually sabotages 2 acres of beans farm, and also a video of soldiers guarding farmers in the northern region of the country while they farm. So let's quickly watch this. I know what form of subsidizing is this, according to Chris. So let's quickly watch the 2 videos back to back, and we'll go right back to the studio to react to the training videos so we can wrap up the show. That is so sorry, but because of our time, Chris, maybe we could still get that from Chris to, it's painful. You could hear what he was saying.
Yeah.
It's heart crushing, heart crushing, because it could have been his lifetime investment, savings that he has put into farming. It could have even been borrowed money and all of that, and then all of it is gone because of some wayward cow, and then even the cow, even innocent, but the elders and all of that. It's painful because for that guy, I mean, and then nobody's going to compensate him or give him real compensation and all of that. It's painful. We're just saying this. It happens every now and then. A lot of people. So, but we can't continue like this as a nation. Let me say this very quickly. That one of the problems I have with the Nigerian public is being too emotional with objective issues. Now, this has been a long run issue in Nigeria about herders issue, where herder clash with farmers and all of that. For crying out loud, the presence of Goodluck Jonathan provided a solution to this. And then when this has happened back then, and then they called all stakeholders and they reached a conclusion and said, look, have ranches across the nation so that you can stop open grazing. You just put ranch, and then they agreed to it. Then they disposed money to it. Every state will give about 10 billion naira to provide ranching, in all states. And why they came to that conclusion was because The federal government realized that Nigeria was at fault over the farmer clash issue. Why? Because sometimes in the 60s or late 50s, there was a gazetted route meant for this cow. Route for them. It was gazetted in our law.
Yeah.
That this cow can move around this coast and all of that. But you see, over the year, development ate up with the space given to them and all of that. So they are thinking that we should always pay. So this going to the Nigerian state is wrong because it was gazetted that they have a route to push their cow through. Yeah. But now development has eaten up, taking that space from them. What we should then do is provide alternative means, meaning that we should ranch them. Yeah. The general government agreed to that. Money was disbursed to that effect, but nothing was done. When this thing persisted with Buhari government, so they went back to that agreement Jonathan government had, and they tried to implement it. But politics took over that decision and said, hey, Fulani wants to take land everywhere, and blah, 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 blah. They badmatted it, and it didn't work. So what we still have today now is, you cannot say, don't graze, open grazing. Mm-hmm. At the same time, you cannot build ranches, because they say you are giving Fulani the land. So we are still in this trouble, so there's no solution. Meanwhile, this cattle thing is a big industry. Mexico live on it, Brazil live on it, Texas live on it. In fact, Texas was having this kind of problem before the ranching thing, state solution came to it. But the thing is this, cow is a big business, but we should just take emotion and sentiment out of it and do what is right. Okay. Let's build ranches and then close this open grazing.
Okay, thank you very much, Grace, for that one. Open grazing is not actually the
no, it's criminal.
We actually, we actually talked about that, and thank God you mentioned that Jonathan's period. This was something that was sorted, because open grazing is not even for the fact that those animals, I don't call them, they're not wild animals, but imagine myself walking beside a cow. It's not possible.
It's not.
I will let the cow go because I don't know.
That's horn like this. If it...
Anyways, because of our time, Prince, in just 1 minute, if that's possible, can you react to this trending video we just watched?
Well, the trending video is unfortunate. It is painful, but it still brings us back to the fact that our government is not serious. Our government is not ready. And let me say this: ranching livestock is a private business. And until we all identify that, government has no right to take land and give to anybody for ranching. If you want to do your ranching, go and rent a place or hire a place or buy a land. There are a lot of people in Lagos doing businesses. What do you call this place that they do their spare parts? The government provides the land for them. They're paying rent. They've rented the place. Some of them bought the land. So why would government want to be the one to provide land for people to do ranching? It is private business. Whatever is private business in this country, we must treat it as private business. And that is why I said that this government was unprepared. The first thing was not to attack the issue of fuel subsidy. The first thing this government would have done was to take the issue of insecurity to the highest level. They would have sorted it out. If you had sorted the issue of insecurity, a lot of things would have been sorted out by now. But no, every government relies on fuel. Anything that has to do with fuel, petroleum, crude oil, the government is even ready to squash the entire nation. So we must move from that mentality of saying it is an entitlement for government to do this. You have removed subsidy on every other thing, but yet people are advocating that you provide land for people to ranch their cows. I'm not in support of that.
Thank you very much, Prince. Thank you so much. I would just like to appreciate my two amazing guests that joined us. I want to appreciate Prince, first of all, despite the tight schedule, he was able to join us. Thank you so much, Prince Chilaka, for joining. Amazing one. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Prince.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris. I know you want to react to what you
no, we don't have the time.
No time.
No time.
So we'll do that behind the camera.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. It was an amazing one. Thank you.
Thank
also,
you for
my
coming.
viewers,
Thank you
for joining in. We've come to the end of the program. Covenant. Sign out.
I mean, it was an exciting. It was informative, right? I like that Mr. Chris and Mr. Prince had their two cents to share. So yes, just join us again tomorrow, same time, same host and co-host. Yes.
All right. Okay, we'll come to the end of the program. We'll be having sports 1 hour later, so you do not want to miss that to know what is trending and what is happening when it comes to the sporting world. Until we come here again, I, Rose Blossom, and of course my co-host, Confident Legacy Girl, we'll be seeing you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Have a beautiful day and bye for now.